After over 20,000 hours of theory crafting builds, I've finally discovered the most powerful setup in the game. This build has been called Utterly Terrifying by IGN and Downright Spooky by Chase the Bro. And this build is none other than St. Trina's Poison Zweihander. Now, to ensure maximum effectiveness, we'll be smashing that L2 button and infusing our left-hand weapon with melatonin, and our right-hand weapon with a sticky green poisonous substance. It should be noted that the consequences of this substance are innocuous in small doses, however the cumulative effect may be devastating over time, much like Smirnoff's green apple vodka. Now we'll add in a sprinkle of cinnamon and boom, we've got ourselves a cozy little autumn cocktail. Side effects of this cocktail may include leaf peeping across the Altus Plateau, buying a purebred golden retriever and naming it Cooper, social media addiction, wearing a vest, and death. To be honest, it was only a matter of time before I created this build, since the two things this channel is known for are Poison Zweihanders and being unconscious. So without further ado, let's jump into it. The strategy for this build is going to be to build up Sleep with St. Trina's in your offhand, and to build up Poison with Poison Zweihander in your main hand. Now, this is going to deliver a lot of damage once you get the Poison proc, because we will be wearing the Mushroom Crown as well as the Kindred Rot's Exaltation Talisman, which both boost your AR once you proc Poison. We also have the added benefit of a true combo where we get a Crouch Poke followed up by a light attack with St. Trina's, and the St. Trina will always connect assuming you get the Crouch Poke to connect. So that's very powerful in building up Sleep, and once your opponent is slept, you will have enough time to deliver your Ash of War, whichever you so choose. So Poisonous Mist is going to be a great option, but we also have Lion's Claw. I was a big fan of Giant Hunt, and we also do have the Stamp Sweep as well as the Stamp Uppercut. Aside from the Mushroom Crown, the fashion is fairly flexible. I definitely do recommend the Mushroom Crown just for the AR boost when you proc Poison, but something with a nice weight to poise ratio like the Tree Sentinel armor can be a good option, and the Royal Rain gauntlets aren't a bad option either. If you want to boost your poise a bit, you can always throw on the Bulgo Talisman and get up to 101 with this fashion, but you won't be able to hit 109, so that is something to think about if you're worried about offhand thrusting swords. Now, as for the stats, I am running 58 Vigor, 32 Endurance, 21 Strength, 49 Dexterity, and then 14 Intelligence is necessary for the St. Trina. It is noted that this would be more optimal on a Vagabond starting class rather than a Wretch, but that's alright. This is a Poison Zweihander build, so you can run it however you want. It is worth noting that periodically we will be going for swaps, so we do have the Great Bow on hand, and we may use a Misericord, but just know that it physically pains me every time I use a weapon that isn't a Poison Zweihander, so keep that in mind. As always, if you have any questions, definitely let me know in the comments, and if you wouldn't mind considering subscribing, I'd definitely appreciate it. That's all I've got to say about the build. Let's go ahead and jump into the invasions. Alright, so this first invasion we're going to start things off with a tactic I like to call kicking the hornet's nest. So we're basically going to aggro everybody simultaneously by shooting each player with a great bow arrow. And this is a nice way to just get people into a kind of a blind rage where they just kind of press buttons at you, which is kind of what we want. We can also go for this nice little strat where we jump up on this hill and shoot this pillar and knock one player down, and now it's just a 2v1. So things are off to a pretty good start for this invasion, and this just went really according to plan compared to some of the other invasions. So we do get a nice poison proc very early. That's going to give us the AR boost that we are definitely looking for, and we do see some of the issues that come with running low poise, namely that the Ash of War that the host is using is going to hit us for more hits, and we're going to have a little bit of trouble just kind of rolling out of that. But here we do get a sleep pot off, and that allows us to sleep the host, giving us time to just kind of get a one-on-one with this Phantom, and here we just hit them twice, and then as they roll out, we do manage to hit them with the offhand St. Trina's. So now we're in a one-on-one situation with the host. The host is really just going for their Ash of War over and over, which means we are really in a good spot to kind of deliver the game plan that we had originally. So we're going to look for that second sleep proc. We do manage to get it, and then we get our full Ash of War off with Lion's Claw for a successful invasion. Next up we have what starts as a 2v1 outside the debate parlor site of Grace, and we'll be going after these players with a Poisonous Mist build-up first. I wasn't sure if they were going to go run over on that platform, so I got out my Great Bow just in case. However, they did decide to stay and fight. So I'm going to go ahead and focus on the Phantom here, and I do see that a blue has just been summoned into the world, so I'll want to be quick with this Phantom. Now, they're taking advantage of the hyper armor that comes with the double slash Ash of War, but we can also kind of counter that with our own hyper armor. So here we're able to tank one hit and get the true combo out of the crouch poke and deliver the last hit with St. Trina's. We also use our Poisonous Mist Ash of War to deliver the poison buildup, and that means we now have our AR boosted, so we can go for the sleep approach as well as change our Ash of War on our Poison Zweihander to Giant Hunt. Now this blue starts jumping a lot, so this is a perfect time to use the running heavy attack on the Zweihander, which works well as an anti-air, and we do manage to catch the blue out of the air and just give them one final poke before they're able to fully get up. Now the host is still playing fairly aggressively given their lack of health and allies, so we're going to be able to deliver a couple hits with St. Trina's and get that sleep build up going, and as they heal we get the final sleep proc we need and go for our Ash of War. So it's worth noting that it is going to be important to kind of keep an eye on how much sleep you're delivering, and you'll get a feel for when that sleep proc is likely going to come. It can be difficult to land the Ash of War if you're not expecting the attack, and if you're just kind of mashing with St. Trina's, sometimes you'll actually just hit them with the St. Trina's sword. So moving on to this next one, we do have a 3v1 in the sewers, and we're very close to getting the first Phantom. However, they do get some backup and some cover from their friends, so we're going to need to back off a little bit, and here we're going to take advantage of the very small space and use our freezing pots as well as our sleep pots to just do as much chip damage or kind of slow them down as much as possible, as well as zone a little bit. So when people see that sleep cloud, they're going to be less likely to move forward or be physically unable to move forward if they get slept. So we see that useful in that moment just there, as they were kind of beginning the chase down on me, and one person gets slept and everybody backs up. So that's really nice for just kind of crowd control, and here we do get a little bit aggressive. We go for a sweeping attack to try and hit multiple opponents at the same time, and we go for that again with the running light attack, and that's going to allow us to get rid of one player here. So we do accidentally run down a dead end, but we do manage to adjust before they can punish us for it, and we back off again and start throwing some more pots. So we hit them with the freezing pot, which is going to be nice because it lowers their physical defenses, and our setup is going to be mostly physical damage. There is some magic damage with St. Trina's, but Poison Zwei is pure physical. So they have an unlucky moment where they hit the wall with their halberd, and we're able to punish that with a final blow from Poison Zwei. And here the host is irrationally mad at the floor, just sending those Moonlight Greatsword heavy attacks into the floor over and over again, and we're able to move on to the next one. So here we have actually a 2v2, which I always enjoy having, and we had a great co-invader here where they were definitely able to hold their own when I needed to take a step back, and they were able to draw focus away from me if I needed help, and I tried to do the same for them. So here we have a player that's running a halberd as well as another person running a curved greatsword with Stormblade, and that can be a great way to kind of cover your opponents from the distance. Fortunately, my co-invader has something similar where they can use magic attacks to cover from a distance, so that's going to be very helpful. So we're kind of alternating between who our opponents are and just trying to do what makes sense in the moment, which I think is a good way to play 2v2s. If somebody's getting double teamed, then you want to just run in and try to stagger somebody. Fortunately, the Poison Zweihander has a tier 3 hit stun, so that means that they're going to be stunned for longer than your average sword hit, and that can be really helpful in just kind of slowing down your opponents. Now I'm here alone with the host at this point, and they're doing a good job of applying pressure with their halberd, and it does turn into a 2v1 momentarily, so I go ahead and back off, and I also want to re-heal, so I swap my talismans to allow for a little bit of extra HP from that flask. Now, as I said, the co-invader does a great job of just kind of holding their own when I need a second, which is really, really nice to see. That's the type of player you want to co-invade with. So they're going to go ahead and send some skull emojis at their opponents, and I'm going to try to come in and draw some focus again. And here we get the nice chain of attacks where we get a crouch poke followed up by the true combo, and then we get that crouch poke again followed up by the true combo, and that allows us to defeat the host. And that's just so effective because they're kind of working under the assumption that they're just going to get hit once, and maybe are playing maybe a little bit more aggressively than they should be, expecting they'll be able to get hit once and then get out. When the St. Trina's comes in for another hit, that can be kind of a difficult way to just kind of manage your health and the calculations that you run in your head when you're expecting a certain amount of damage and get hit for a true combo. So moving on, we have what starts as a 2v1 but quickly becomes a 3v1 with a hunter. We're going to go ahead and go for a turn and burn with our poison and manage to get the poison to deliver the last bit of HP from the Phantom there, and we can move on to just focusing on the host in the blue. So we can see there that poison is actually kind of useful. We didn't have to get that chip damage ourselves. Here we do get a nice true combo, and one of the bubbles actually comes in for a third hit in that combo, so that was pretty nice. We're fairly low on health here, so we really need to back up. The stairs are doing a good job of preventing the Blasphemous Blade from making too much of an impact in most cases. However, the stairs did not have the same functionality as the Blasphemous Blade did go up the stairs and hit us for a decent amount of damage. And here we're able to deliver a decent amount of damage again with the Poison Zweihander, and just a little bit more chip damage. It comes for the blue, and we're able to turn this into a one-on-one momentarily. There is a new blue coming into the world now, so we're going to have to deal with that. They are wearing the Mushroom Crown, which we do love to see. Another Mushroom Crown enjoyer is always a pleasure. However, they are going to be running a mostly kind of projectile build, which we don't love to see, so they're going to be going for Pest Threads. They also have the Pulley Crossbow, and we're going to go ahead and buff our St. Trina's just in case we can get some sleep. So sometimes St. Trina's can be really nice in tandem with Sleep Pot, so you get some of that sleep buildup with the Sleep Pot, and then, you know, even if they don't get slept from the pot, they probably still have some buildup. So just one swing with St. Trina's, which does come out pretty fast, can be really nice for delivering the final sleep. And once you get that sleep animation, you can go for your Ash of War and do a lot of damage. So given the projectiles that we're seeing from the blue, we're going to kind of counter that with our own projectiles with the Great Bow. So we'll be trying to, you know, switch back and forth between the Great Bow and the Poison Zweihander depending on how close these players are from us. Here I thought the host was going to be running up the stairs, so I go for a Sleep Pot. Turns out they're not, so we're going to go ahead and back off. Here I was trying to get the L2 for the Rain of Arrows attack on this blue. However, the inputs were not really working out the way I'd like them to, but finally we are able to get that L2, and that does a lot of damage for the blue. Now we'll see a very sneaky tactic from this blue in just a moment as we come in and deliver one hit. The blue does conveniently disconnect in that moment, which means that we won't be getting extra flasks from their death. So normally you get 2 flasks when a blue dies. However, in this case, due to the disconnect, we get nothing. So very sneaky tactic from the blue, but it doesn't actually matter too much now that it's a one-on-one with the host. Their Phantom is gone, and the cooldown for both blue summons is at about 5 minutes. So the host would need to survive for a full 5 minutes before any more blues would come in. So we're in a pretty good spot here. We're going to go ahead and buff our St. Trina's and get set up for a potential Lion's Claw attack with our Poison Zweihander. We go ahead, grab that crouch poke, get the true combo. The host does mash out of stun. We're going to go ahead and get 2 more hits and follow that up with a nice Lion's Claw roll catch. So another successful one. You know, some interesting attacks from the blue, some interesting tactics for sure. Moving on, we'll be in the Grand Cloister area, and we have a nice 3v1. As these players are just kind of wrecking all the PvE in the area, we're not going to have much help. So we're going to run after this player that hasn't noticed us yet and go ahead and hit them with a running heavy, which is going to do a decent amount of damage, close to half their health. They don't have a ton of vigor, so that's going to be pretty helpful for us. We were hoping to get the Misericord swap for the riposte, but they are able to roll out before we're able to grab that, and we do deliver just a couple more hits. Now next we go for a nice anti-air with the running heavy. I really like the running heavy with the Zweihander. I think it catches a lot of people off guard and has a little bit more range than people are expecting. I was able to manage to hit people with it quite often, so it's a nice anti-air option if you're expecting a jump attack from your opponent, and it just has good range and does a lot of damage. The tracking is not amazing, so it's best used in scenarios where your opponent is kind of moving either forwards towards you or forwards backwards rather than like side to side. Now we do have the host coming in trying to protect their Phantom, which does, you know, make sense. We're able to get a nice little backstab here as they go for a jumping attack, miss, and then they are actually able to get out of that position just because we're kind of stuck on the stairs a little bit. So that slows us down, and this sequence of rolling begins, which I find to be quite funny. So they roll directly in the rot, which means that the rot buildup will continue even after they're out of the rot, which is unfortunate. We end up needing to roll through the rot ourselves, just trying to avoid hits from the host, but we're continuing our pressure as the rot buildup is accumulating with the poison buildup, and this Phantom is just really in trouble. And here it all comes together as they just take too much damage, and we're able to focus on just the host here. So the host is going to swap over to a great axe, which is not a bad option. These do have a lot of poise, so here you can see they're actually able to do the stamp sweep, or stamp uppercut rather. We do get a poise break, but we are kind of already committed to our offhand weapon before we can grab that post, but we're able to just kind of come in with are running heavy, or we were going to, and then they go for a heal, which we weren't expecting. So they pull out a shield, which is not the best idea necessarily. They're also getting a lot of sleep build up here, so we can go ahead and sleep them with St. Trina's and then follow it up with our Ash of War for the victory. So moving on, we are going to have an invasion in the Halig Tree area, and this is a 3v1 where everybody's just kind of piled up together, which isn't bad when you have a weapon like the Zweihander with the kind of extra long stun time, as well as the Poisonous Mist, which everybody is going to probably end up in, which is great for us. So we get that early AR buff from Poisonous Mist, go ahead and swap over to the Great Bow as everyone's just kind of hanging out behind and not moving around too much, and we're able to get one Phantom down real quick and come in for a nice jumping lay attack on the Phantom that was trying to cast some spells at us. So we're going to back up a little bit, try to avoid the big spells coming in from the host, and then use our Hyper Armor here with Poisonous Mist, and we do get a nice crouch poke as an anti-air against the Phantom and turn this into a one-on-one. Now we do swap over to Stamp Uppercut. We're hoping to potentially get a Stamp Backstab against their attack, but they free-aimed it, so we weren't really in a great position. And here the PvE comes in and just collects the host. So we're going to go ahead and give them a bow and move on to our next invasion. And this was probably one of the sweatier ones that I encountered. We had a host that wasn't doing too much, but we had two Phantoms that were very, very aggressive. So we're going to see Star Fists on the side of one, and then Power Stance and Bestial Sling on the side of the other, and that's going to be very problematic with lower poise. So I believe the poise break point is roughly 100 for Bestial Sling, so that means that they're going to break our poise every time they hit us unless we have Hyper Armor. So that's really kind of problematic if you're trying to run away, because you'll get poise broken from a distance, especially with the very fast cast speed that we see from the Phantom with Bestial Sling. So those are going to come out super fast and hit us and break our poise, and then we'll get stuck and get caught by the spear that we see from the host, or potentially the Starfist from the other Phantom. So Bestial Sling and Starfist together in Invasion are just something you don't really like to see. So I'm taking a minute here to just try to get my bearings, try to figure out how I want to play this. I don't feel like I have great options, because I'm going to get chipped every time I go for an attack with the Poison Zweihander, which has very long attacks, and I just am kind of hoping for some PvE help at this area. There's no help really in that last area I was in, so I come over to this area, which I know does have some PvE that can be quite a good distraction. Unfortunately, they've already cleared it all out, so I'm in a pretty tough spot. So what I go for is a heal as I get behind this tree, and then I swap over to the Stormhawk Axe, just because I know that the player with the Starfist is super aggressive, and I take a decent amount of chip damage from the Bestial Sling as I'm in my Ash of War, but I do get this Phantom down to half health, and then we just press L2 again while we're kind of hiding behind a tree, and we're able to successfully turn this into a 2v1, and this is huge. The pressure from the Starfist was enormous, and the poise breaks and chip damage from the Bestial Sling was just super problematic. So those two things together is quite a difficult thing to handle, but when you're just dealing with one of the two, it's not bad. And at this point they start retreating. We're not sure if we can get some chip damage with the Great Bow, so we begin the chase down with that pulled out, and we see that the elevator is actually down at this point, but we do hear the host, or the Phantom actually, as they're going for an incantation, trying to get us, madness, maybe knock us down. It's unclear what they're going for, but fortunately we kind of had the presence of mind to not just sprint in there. So they don't have a lot of room to maneuver, and they do have an incantation that lasts for a long time. So we're going to throw a sleep pot, and we try to just kind of knock them off with Stamp Uppercut, but they actually just roll down on their own. So we just kind of wave goodbye to them and get the elevator back into position and get ready to chase down the host. So that was definitely a scary situation, and it just kind of paid off to not be too aggressive. It was, I was kind of expecting the elevator to be down, but I wasn't expecting for a Phantom to be there. So pretty tricky play there, but we did avoid it. Now, I wasn't sure if the host was going to be hiding behind that wall, so I threw a sleep pot just in case, and here we actually find them hiding behind a different wall. They've given up at this point, but I was a little salty based on just kind of the setup that their Phantoms were running, so we give them the double Ash of War treatment and come out with the victory. But we'll also give them a bow because, you know, we're super polite like that. So this next one is going to be another bit of cheese. We go up this elevator kind of expecting these players to be just kind of hanging out at the top, so we grab our Zweihander with Stamp Sweep. Basically, we're just looking to use the Stamp to endure through whatever cheese they have at the top. So here we see Grail's Roar. If I had not used the Stamp, then I would have been knocked off the elevator. So really important to know what has the right type of hyper armor for the situation and just kind of use that on prediction, especially with elevators. You always want to have either Endure or Stamp or just something that's going to keep you on your feet if they go for something like Grail's Roar. So we do manage to hit them once. They end up actually rolling off the edge, and we're able to chase down the Phantom just in time and collect another victory there. So moving on, we have a 3v1, and we kind of come up this ladder. We throw one sleep pot, and we get hit by just a number of different things that does about half our health almost instantly, and we figure we might want to back down a little bit. That didn't work out so well, so we're going to try to regroup and replan. We're not sure if they're going to come back down, so we end up actually waiting down here for a little while, but they don't come down, so we switch over to the Great Bow and begin a chase down once we see that they've moved on to a different area of the map. We can just see that with a host's icon in the compass area. So we see one Phantom just kind of hopping down, so we really know where they are. We can see their health bars. That's very, very helpful. And we're going to kind of delay our jump down. We don't want to have them know where we are too soon. So we're going to stay up here and use our rain of arrows. We get a decent amount of damage on one of the players and then follow it up with some more great bow shots. And it looks like potentially the rat got the finish on one of the Phantoms, but we're, you know, in a much better spot now where we're not going to get cheesed by everything. And it was actually the host that got killed by the rat, but we did have time to collect the two other Phantoms as well and come out with the victory. Now we do have another invasion in Rhea Lucaria, and this is going to be 3v1. And the biggest thing that I'm worried about in this situation is the light rolling bow player, just because they can do a ton of chip damage and they're going to be super hard to hit with our setup. We don't have a great option for chasing them down. We'd prefer something like a heavy thrusting sword or a regular thrusting sword, just something that comes out really, really fast. So they have a bow, so we're also going to use a bow, and as they go up the elevator, we get the lock on the light rolling player and do land our rain of arrows, Ash of War, and managed to take them out successfully. So we end up pulling the lever here, and I didn't realize, but one of the hosts, or one of the Co's actually stayed behind. So we're going to go ahead and throw a sleep pot, expecting them to continue to go for their Ash of War, and that actually does work successfully. And then we time our giant hunt just right to hit them as they roll out, and then we get one more hit with just the regular Poison Zweihander light attack and get the finish on the Phantom. And now it's just a one-on-one with the host. They could have fogged wall me, but they didn't, so I do appreciate that. GG's to you, Kevin. I appreciate all that you do. They go for a jumping attack. We followed up with a poke. We could have gone for the true combo, but chose not to. And we're going to go ahead and buff our St. Trina's real quick. We are, you know, anticipating that they're going to be just kind of playing a little bit passively. We do get the poison proc, so that's going to be really nice. And then we go for just a free aim, just seeing what we can do. So in just a moment, we'll go for that St. Trina's. I think I spoke a little bit early here. We get the Endure, wondering if we can get a backstab. We don't quite line things up successfully, but here the host is kind of backing up. Endure Stamp is not really doing much for us. We're hoping to line up another backstab there, but no such luck. But here we go for that Ash of War that I was talking about, and we get the sleep proc as they land on the ground, and just one final hit with the two-handed St. Trina's is going to be enough. So nice moment there, and here is going to be our final invasion of the day, and that's going to be a very interesting one as we actually perform some of this invasion on top of the chariot, which is something that's never happened to me before. So as that runs away, we decide to roll off and maintain pressure on the host, and they're in a pretty bad spot since we have a lot of hyper armor available to us and they don't have really anywhere they can go. Here we do get the sleep proc and finish it off with the Poisonous Mist Ash of War. So I hope you enjoyed this showcase. I had a little bit more fun with it than my normal build videos, so if you wouldn't mind considering subscribing, that would be a huge help. And I think I'll actually do a part 2 to this because I had a ton of clips, including some clips where, you know, I was in the arena and playing this setup against very, very strong meta setups and finding some success. So yeah, cheers. I hope you have a good one, and thank you so much for watching.